Hey, it's me, Unapologetically T, and I came to do another video. And I wanted to talk about race. I don't necessarily like post on my TikTok about a lot of things about race, because I don't really post to my TikTok as much as I do any of my other social media platforms. I do want to get better at that, but on my Instagram, I am pretty open about my views on race, and I wanted to make a video, which I hate that I have to do this, but I wanted to make a video as a disclaimer and as, I guess, I don't know, just a video explaining my stance on race. Me personally, I don't give two shits about race. I judge people on how they treat me, and I will say this: there are numerous times that living in America forces me to give a shit about race, and so I have to talk about it. So, me personally, I judge people based on how they treat me. I have had to unlearn a lot of stuff, and mostly stuff about my own kind. Just from being brainwashed and having negative stereotypes constantly perpetuated on media, TV, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just negative stereotypes about my own kind all around me. Then growing up in the dysfunction and chaos, had to unlearn a lot and realize why a lot of the behaviors and the negative stereotypes exist, and that has been a journey in itself, but I'm happy I've had it, because I would rather much be one of the people that do see through the bullshit. So and I've also was one of those people where I put white or light above my own self, because that's just what was perpetuated through colorism in my own family, in my own community, and on TV, blase. That's just what I saw. However, it definitely has gotten to a point in my growth and my development, I could give a shit what color you are. However, my whole purpose is to speak my truth, and when my truth comes to speak, I speak it. And I feel like growing up in America and to pretend that race doesn't matter is dangerous, and it's a disservice to our growth and, I guess, unity amongst us of all races and all cultures. Due to race being a social construct that was created to actually divide us, to set up classism, to set up racism, and if you really struggle with what racism is, for me, racism is not you name calling or you having negative stereotypes about me or my people. Racism for me is the systematic racism that stops me from being able to climb up that, invisible ladder you always try to get us to climb. Racism for me is to get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's racism. Just systematic things like creating prisons and basing it off of, certain people's ability to read by a certain grade level, or just conditioning young kids to become criminals over time. So racism to me is basically funding a whole drug epidemic and then saying that you have to form a war against drugs. That's racism to me, and racism is deeply rooted in this country, and it goes far beyond those things that I've named. Those are the racist things that kind of were during my time and growing up, but racism is far deeper than that. Racism is buck breaking. Racism is not allowing brown and black children to have vanilla ice cream. That was a real psychological one that they did. Racism is when black communities start to do well. You know, you bomb them or create lakes, push them out their neighborhoods, steal land. Racism, because not all my lineage is just African. I have some native in me, but I haven't been able to explore because of racism. You know how you wipe out everything and how you get native people to not identify as native because they are copper tone or they are black, or you know, they just wasn't light enough. You know, you started to whitewash a lineage. So racism is definitely that. I have seen the atrocities of this country, not from, you know, being alive during those times. However, I did have parents that grew up during segregation. And so I know all too well from personal stories, from my mom and stuff like that, and her mother, what racism looks like, what racism feels like. And I find it funny that when black people start to show emotion with racism, or we point out racism, sometimes we can be viewed as, I guess we can make other white people scared. And I feel like it's not our job, and I think that's white fragility. Like, it's not our job to make you feel comfortable with our outrage. You should be outraged too, and maybe that's the problem, that you weren't outraged and your ancestors before you weren't outraged, and now we're here. And I do have some wonderful, if you're black and you don't have some wonderful, you know, white friends and people in your life, and when I say white friends, I do not mean white people that I just clicked with and it's a vibe. I mean white people that I get to have these conversations with, and white people that are actually trying to make an active difference. So when I say that, my white friend, I don't mean it like white people mean it. I actually mean like I get to have white people that I can have conversation with about racism and justice. I definitely am not one of those people. There are some people out here who, you know, if, you know, they do have, I feel like, for good reason, I feel like they do. They want revenge. There are some people that want revenge. It's not many. But I'm not one of those people that do. I feel like, you know, what's coming for you is coming for you if you deserve it. And I do kind of feel like that, and have given the opportunity what I do, what has been done to us, to anybody else of any other color or culture or background. No. And yeah, I definitely am still trying to figure out the white race. I really am, and I don't say that to make anybody feel offended, but I am trying to figure it out. I do know, like, as far as science, the furthest back they can go is 6,000 years, as far as like genetics for y'all. And I do find that interesting sometimes, and I try to explore that. But I've met different black people who have different views. I'm not the standard for every black person. My view is my view, but I did want to make this video to basically say, my beef ain't with the common white person. Even though if you are complicit with racism, you are perpetuating racism, and I feel sorry for you. However, my gripe is with a system that is flawed and that is repeatedly abusing its citizens. Black, brown, and white. All in the name of greed and power. So, yeah, that's my little stance on that. Do with it what you may.
None of this is making any sense.